And I want to take this time to bring up
I couldn't see it.
the Vice Chancellor, Prince Amiel. Let's bring him up.
Shalom, shalom.
Shalom.
Katsumeya. And I say Katsumeya because we are going into the new year for us, the children of Israel. But not only are we going into Shana Tovah, we're going into the celebration of the Jubilee. The 50 years mark that was created so that at some particular point the children of Israel could reset, be forgiven, and start all over again with a clean slate.
Yes, sir.
Now, I'm going to do something a little avant-garde today, something a little different, something you haven't heard before. But going into this season, we've had many revelations relative to our intense study and investigation. Not just relative to the scriptures, but to the whole geopolitical reality that we have been working to extricate ourselves from or get away from. So, I'm going to do it like this because the interesting thing is our illustrious Kohen elucidated some things that I really wanted to touch on. And though this may sow some controversy, if you go with me on it, you'll feel the spirit of it. On the earth today, many people are contextualized by what they call social systems, right?
Yes, sir.
The social system is the matrix by which people are contextualized to be a part of a particular civilization. Hence, in America, and many places around the world, including Israel, the social system is called democracy. Other places you have dictatorships, socialism, Darwinism. All of these are social systems. Darwinism, which is the underpinning of all of those social systems, which is, when translated, it is the survival of the fittest, survival of the strongest. So though you think that you're living in a place with one man, one vote, with the creation of what they call the electoral college, that actually erased the one man, one vote. So this one man, one vote thing that we're doing is just an exercise in futility. It ain't even about nothing. Because they created a situation where a handful of people can pick the president of the United States. So that's why I say that you can win the popular vote, but these little handful of people in these obscure places who are called the electoral college, they actually pick the president of the United States. So there is no such thing as one man, one vote. And if we don't come to terms with that, we'll be thinking we actually picked somebody here. I mean, in essence, we haven't really picked any president since Woodrow Wilson's time. The electoral college has. So, I want to talk about a social system. Now, for years, in the Israelite, subsequently Jewish tradition, when we talk about the Torah, what are we talking about? Going.
The writings, the laws, and statutes.
Okay. But we're going to add something to that.
Yes, sir.
Because if the devil has a social system, then wouldn't it stand to reason that the creator, God, would have a social system?
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes,
That's
sir.
right.
I mean, we couldn't be the children of God and live under the devil. But that's what we've been doing.
Absolutely.
That's because we've had the to what we know we want to get out. I mean, we've had the from what we know we want to get out of it. But we don't have the to what. Where do we go? Now, we're not saying that you have to get on a plane and go to Israel, even though if you're an Israelite, you should go to Israel. But one of the things you can do is conceptualize and understand that Yah has a social system.
Yes, sir.
And that social system is called Torah. Torah is not just the books of the Bible. The books of the Bible, they call it law. The man was not made for law. The law was made for man.
Yes.
So spirit comes before law.
Yes.
So let me read to you the definition of Torah so you can understand what I'm saying. And you're going to find it interesting. Torah means, in Hebrew, instruction or teaching. It's the central reference of the religious Judaic tradition. It has a range of meanings. It can most specifically mean the first five books of the 24 books of the Tanakh. And it is usually includes the rabbinic commentaries. The term Torah means instruction and offers, listen to this, democracy is a way of life, right? Darwinism is a way of life, correct?
Yes, it is.
Y'all follow me?
Yes, sir.
Socialism is a way of life, right?
Yes, sir.
Listen to the definition. It says, Torah means instruction and offers a way of life for those
Right. That's
who
right.
follow it.
Make it plain. Make it plain.
Torah is a social system.
Yes, sir.
In this social system, we're taught how to think,
Teach.
how to eat,
Teach.
how to teach,
Yes, sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
How to love, how to care, how to share. All of those things that the word of Nachash, and many of you don't know what Nakash means. It's a Hebrew terminology that means to be led into darkness. So you have been instructed into darkness. That's why it's not your fault.
Yes, sir.
You were born into this social system of Nachash.
Teach.
So you have been taught how to kill yourself. You've been taught how to hate. You've been taught all these negative things. You've been taught how to eat and kill yourself with food.
Teach.
You've been taught how to dress. You've been taught how to wear makeup, and all these types of things that when you go to the 58th chapter of Isaiah, it says all this stuff ain't what God required of us. When you talk about the incense and the making of many prayers in the hands and all of these things that we did, they were not of our social system. Those were things that were just inculcated into us by Nakash, by us being led into darkness. So, by the power invested in me, and y'all got to hear this, as a prince, vice chancellor in the new world, in the revelation of Torah, the revelation of the social system, that's been there all the time, we just didn't recognize it. You follow me? So by the power invested in me, everything that you did from this point, going back as far as you can remember, that you thought was evil or that was sin, you've been forgiven. Now you can walk away from here and still do what you do, but you can't never say that you wasn't forgiven. Now who is going to wait to forgive you? It had to be somebody who understood that the people needed to be forgiven,
Yes, sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
So you can walk away today with a new revelation that you're starting with a new slate. Somebody had to give it to you. I just having to be dressed in brown kufi, you understand? But I'm from Jerusalem. And we are invested in with the power. So whatever you did from this, that you've been carrying, that you call yourself sinning or it's been wearing on your mind, let it go as of this day, because this forgiveness is inculcated in the social system based upon Jubilee. We are going into the Jubilee. But I'm saying based on the Jubilee because we are getting ready to go into the celebration of what should be happening every day.
Yes, sir.
So now, I'm going to take it here. If you can hear me, even the maladies that you have can be made to go away. I know y'all wasn't ready for this right here. But a lot didn't happen since the last time we saw y'all.
Make it plain.
We have crossed over to the new heaven and the new earth. And it ain't nothing like the old heaven and the old earth. Because the old heaven, the old way of thinking, and the old way of doing things is passed away. It's passed away in us. So we are free to create a new world. We're free to free ourselves from Nakash, from being led into darkness. We are free. Now you can walk away here and keep carrying that stuff if you want, or you can act like Satan started all over again and rolled up out of here with nothing on your heart, but to manifest love and light from this day forward. Are you following me?
Yes, sir. Yes,
So what I'm
sir.
saying makes sense? Where was he going to get it from? Who was going to do it? Ain't no preacher got up there and said, you've been forgiven. Like, yeah.
No, they have not.
So, a Prince Chancellor, y'all just happen to come in, the Prince Chancellor just freed y'all from all y'all past stuff. It makes sense though, don't it? Somebody got to set the captives free. That's what it's saying in 82nd chapter of Psalm. It says those gods, that leadership, because leadership in Hebrew means servant. So those servants who are guiding and directing the people into light have the power to forgive.
Yes, sir.
To get you to forgive yourself. If Yah is in you, right? Let me ask this question. If Yah's in you, right? Right? And you get up in the morning and brush your teeth, whose teeth you brushing? Say it. Say it here.
Yeah.
You brushing Yah's teeth.
Say it loud.
Huh?
Say it loud.
If you taking a shower and you are God's tabernacle, He dwells in you, who you showering? Huh? No, I said no. I think I'm about proud. Yeah. Because they ain't trying to convince us that God was outside of us. So that we be looking outside and never get no answers. But if we look inside, Yah was waiting to answer us. Because Yah is us. You can't see Yah unless you see it in another person. And unless you see it in your mirror.
Yes, sir.
Are y'all with me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You free. No, I don't care what you did prior to this. You free.
Clean slate.
You can let that stuff go. Matter of fact, nobody can even talk about it. What you do from this day forward is your slate. And I guarantee, and ain't nobody guarantee y'all nothing. If y'all can hear me this day, whatever malady you have, whatever problem you have, can go away. You didn't bring yourself to these conditions. Nakash do things that hurt you. You were led to doing things that hurt other people. Oh, but now, a person is born with two spirits. One good and one susceptible to evil. Now, when you're coming up and you're young, if you don't have good instructors or people who care for you and love you, you may choose evil.
Yes, sir.
But as you begin to become conscious, you're aware of that you have a choice. When you're not conscious, you may not be aware that you have a choice. But when you become aware that you have a choice, now you have a responsibility. So in the 30th chapter of Deuteronomy, it says, choose ye this day life and good or death and evil. But he give you the answer. Right after that, it say, choose life.
Right.
But I don't want you to guess. Choose life.
That's a good suggestion.
Huh?
Good suggestion.
See.
Y'all with me? This is how simple it is. In the same scripture, it said, it ain't that deep that you got to dig under the earth to get it, or go out in space to get it. Because it's in you anyway. All we doing is jogging your memory. I don't care how young you are. It's already in you. You was born with it. You was born with blood, wasn't you? All the information that you need is in the blood. Now, the people try to detain you from accessing your own blood. So they try to get you to damage yourself. So you damage your blood, damage your organs, and then you deal with sickness. And you can't. It's hard to be sick and elevate.
Yes, sir.
Because some stuff you're going to be incapable of hearing and incapable of feeling because the sickness takes that away from you. Are y'all following me?
Yes, sir.
Please hear me this day. Y'all ain't heard this before. But the reason why you ain't heard it before is because we in the new heaven and the new earth. These teachings are for you, your heart, your understanding. It's for you. Because y'all has to have a world. And that world has to be built by real people. So Yah has inspired us to set the captives free. You believe anything, don't think about nothing that happened in the past. And if somebody bring it up, all you have to do is say, man, I'm in the new heaven. I ain't even dealing with all that. I've been forgiven. You can't nobody hold nothing against you. I don't care if you did something day before yesterday. If somebody bring it up to you, you say, I've been forgiven. I'm not doing that no more. So you can't use it on me. And then your behavior from that point, you have to be choosing the right thing, that's all. Just choose life. If you don't choose it all, you choose death. But you gotta make a choice. You have to use your choices. Because that's all you got. Because them two spirits are sitting there. But when you become more spiritual, you leave one and cling to the other. So Torah is our social system. And inculcated in Torah is the reality of instruction. That's in the whole social system, to be instructed. So there's somebody who has to be the instructor. And the instructor for the last 40 years has been Prince Asiel. Been instructed. Whether we like him or not, care anything about him or not, believe in what he said, or if he made mistakes, or he didn't make mistakes, whatever, he was the instructor. Now imagine that our social system is based on instructors and instruction. At what point should you be at variance with the instructor? You can't hate the instructor, because the instructor got to instruct. But what is he instructing? He's instructing us how to build the new heaven and the new earth, not the old world. So it's going to sound different. It's going to feel different. It's going to look different. And as we go along, your collective energy is going to expand the concept of Torah. Torah is not just 5 books. It's not just law. It's a social system that's set up to build the world of Yah.
Right, sir.
Huh?
Yes, sir.
I mean, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. You building a new world. Every time you make a good choice, because a good choice takes you to better choices. And those choices lead you to good people making good choices. And the next thing you know, you ain't the only good person in the room. And this is how it's going to grow. So I'm going to close out, because it's my honor to precede the national spokesman who's been raised up in this dispensation of time, because at some particular point he's going to take his place as the instructor. The instructor at this particular point in time is Prince Asiel. And no matter whether people like him or not, we don't even care. We cannot be without an instructor. And instructors are not infallible. That's why you always have the examples of David, Moses, Saul, Solomon, on and on and on, who were not infallible people. So if you think that you gotta wait for somebody that's picture perfect to be an instructor, it ain't gonna happen. You'll just be waiting. It's gonna be somebody like you who takes on the spirit of instruction in spite of what the impediments may be. There's no other way. But if we line up behind the instructor, he knows the blueprint to the new heaven and the new earth. And it's our job to facilitate the building of the new heaven and the new earth. So, Kodem Ko, Kokobol, and y'all Yisrael, I appreciate you giving me your time and your attention. But as we go along, the new heaven and the new earth, there's some new stuff coming. So be encouraged, and be encouraged enough to invite people who you love, because this world belongs to them too. Because the one that's out there is making you understand everything. They don't care nothing about you. Matter of fact, they want you to commit suicide. And they gave you enough tools to do that.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
So we don't want that world. We want our social system. Torah. So everybody. And I'm going to bring up our great and mighty national spokesman to come up and bless you with thoughts, visions, and manifestations that God has inspired on this heart. And we look forward to talking to him. Listening to him every time he talks, because he puts in the work, the study. And he is a main element in Torah. So is Kohen Alma, because he's becoming the Kohen for the new world. Because some things in the old world have passed away. And he will learn new things, new concepts, and new ideas as we go on to build this world. So I bring to you my brother, my friend, my son, Brother Yosef, national spokesman for Torah. Yes.
giving all honor and praise to the Creator of the heavens and the earth. We thank Him for our ancestors in whatever form or fashion they may be found. We thank Him for Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, our founding fathers. We thank Him for Moses, for the Torah. We thank Him for Yeshua, for the new gospel. And we thank Him for Prophet Muhammad ibn Abdullah, for the Holy Quran. Peace be upon all those worthy servants. But truly, if I can thank those great men that I know only from Scripture, only from reading, and only from studying, I must thank the ones that we've been able to touch, see, to build, and learn from. So in that case, I want to thank the holy Hamashiach, Ben Abi Hamashiach, who took us out of the northern hills of America and returned us back to land, language, and culture. I want to thank the master teacher, Nasi Shaliah, the one who taught us from his great writings, Know Thyself. And if those two men would have a spiritual son, it would most certainly be Prince Asiel Ben Israel, a spiritual ambassador who took those messages all across the world and helped facilitate one of the greatest movements in modern history. And most importantly, all of you who are here to listen and take heed to these words, I greet you in the words of peace. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom, shalom.
I have to go through that process because I would be remiss if I didn't thank the people who preceded me and went before me. I always want our people to know, whenever I speak, that we have a lineage, that we have a connection, that we have a history. Because now more than ever, the idea of individualism has been put on us and promoted at the highest levels. So that makes us have a self-deception that it's only us and what we're doing. But our power has never been as individuals, but a collective whole. So every time I come and speak, I want you to know that I stand on those great men and women's shoulders. And I want to thank Rabbi Amram, who had the spirit and the energy to help facilitate this new work. Because it's hard going against the grain. It's hard doing things that you may not be accustomed or used to. And everybody's going one way and you decide to go the other way. So I want to commend you, Brother Rabbi, for taking the courage, for having the tenacity to build this new heaven and this earth. I also want to thank my spiritual father, Prince Amiel. He's one that is very special to me because I'll say maybe about 2010, when he first came into my life, when I really decided this is what I wanted to do, he was one of those men, one of the only few men that really not just encouraged me, but took the time to teach and instruct me, like he said, an instructor, gave me a living Torah so that I could be a recipient of this great knowledge and this great information. Because we know knowledge without application is nothing. It's vain work. It's actually the habitation of the devil. Because if you know something and don't use it and apply it for the benefit of not just oneself, but the collective whole, you're doing the world a great disservice. So with that being said, I want to just greet everybody again in the words of peace. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom, shalom.
Today's class is a special class for me. They all are. But I wanted to talk about, especially in this month that we call Black History Month, I wanted to talk about the repetition that we've been following for so long. Almost to the fact that we've become numb and dead to any type of real, truth knowledge. So if anybody has seen the flyer, we wanted to entitle this class, Our Apathy Has Caused Our Atrophy. Say it again. Our apathy has caused our atrophy. Apathy, the lack of emotion, to be desensitized to what is going on around you. I want you to hear me now. To be desensitized, to have no feeling, no empathy, no sympathy for what is going on around you. When you're looking at that, you see why everywhere we go is nothing but death and devastation. So our apathy has been inculcated in our education, in our food, in the music and entertainment, the things we do for joy, in our lack of culture or our understanding of culture, in our economic and currency system. Apathy is in all of those aspects. Apathy. So as I go on to start to break down this class, I want to just give the definition real quick of what apathy is so that we're all on the same page. I would be remiss if I don't break these words down. So it's not just for everybody in the room, but also for our listening audience that's on Facebook Live. Apathy. Give me 1 second. I must have moved my notes. Oh, bro. Yeah, baby. Yeah. See, it's all in the works. See, apathy clips in, even when we're teaching about it. That's okay. I'm gonna use the electronic. Just look it up. You got it there? Go ahead and read it for me.
Apathy. The absence or suppression of passion, emotion,
The absence of, say the word again,
passion,
passion. We're not passionate about anything anymore. We've lost the passion to live, to grow, to learn, to love. We're gonna break down what love is, because out of context, it can get lost. But keep going.
emotion, or excitement.
Or excitement. Keep going.
The lack of interest in or concern for things that others find moving or exciting.
So when your brother, when your sister comes to you with something that they have achieved, something they accomplished, what are you doing? Are you being encouraging or are you being discouraging? I talked about earlier how the Prince was an encouraging person in my life that helped facilitate my growth and my development. It's a life changer there. Because if he was discouraging in my process of growing and learning and wanting to be Torah, where would I be at now? It surely wouldn't be in front of you. Yes, it has to be in you, but you have to have others around you to help facilitate that knowledge, that energy, that passion, that interest. Keep going.
It says in the Greek, the insensibility
Insensibility.
to suffering, unfeeling.
Is it?
Yes.
Now we see the apathy. We've lost any type of feeling, any type of concern, any type of love, any type of passion, any type of growth. So as we break it down in class, our apathy has caused our atrophy. So I'm going to read the definition of atrophy because nobody knew this one. It says pathology. Pathology. Pathology is the definition for the origin of diseases. So to understand that this is a disease that we have right now, that we're suffering from. We're sick. Our environment that has produced the apathy that has all of us engulfed has caused our atrophy, our diseases. Second, the emaciation or the wasting of tissues. Emaciation is the breaking down of the barriers or the immune system, the thinning of the skins and the cells. You can look at it from a physical aspect, but you have to look at it from a sociological and spiritual aspect. We have no defense mechanism when it comes to truth and the proliferation of truth. So everything that we do is anti our best interest. Like the rabbi said earlier, what are we eating every day? We eat garbage. What are we talking about every day? We talk about garbage. What are we perpetuating every day? We're perpetuating garbage. We've lost our defense mechanism. We've lost our protection. So as we keep celebrating Black History Month every February, we're doing it in vain. We're not doing that. We're not learning nothing. We're not growing anything. Our children are not better off because we talk to them about Martin Luther King, because we talk about not Mother Teresa, but Rosa Parks. We just giving them examples of how, because we're not teaching the spirit behind what they're doing, We're just giving them a fence. We're just giving them names. We're just giving them color. We're teaching them how to be complacent in a system of white supremacy. A system of Anglo-Saxon, Neo-Hegelian domination, which is contrary to your very nature. Does anybody listen to our class? The number one construct, the number one great mental idea that comes out of Western civilization is to kill and to destroy. That's why every country in the Western world is in perpetual wars. Since the European landed in America, he's been in war ever since. And we all have been inculcated into that. We're all willing participants in that. So, as I'm speaking today, I want you to understand why it's so important what the Nasi said, why it's so important what the Rabbi said, why it's so important what I'm saying, is because everybody sounds like we're saying the same thing, but we're not telling you how to deal within this system. We're telling you how to create a new one. Right. That's how you differentiate about what we're talking about and what everybody else is talking about for the most part. It's a difference. Yeah, we're talking about the same problems. Yeah, we're talking about the same pathologies, the same illnesses, the same sickness. But our solution is not to medicate yourself and to deal with the pain, it's to eradicate it so that it's non-existent going forward. That makes sense?
Yes.
Okay, I guess can somebody hear me out there? Okay, I just want to make sure I ain't talking to myself. I have no problem, but I just want to make sure I am. The wasting of tissues, organs, or the entire body.
Right.
This is what atrophy is. The entire body has been destroyed. What is in the body, Yosef? The brain, the internal organs, which houses the soul.
Okay.
The heart, which allows you to have empathy and sympathy for your brother and your sister. That's why I had to talk about this. That's why I'm glad you're here, or whoever's listening, whoever will listen in the future from the recording, you have to take this in and really digest it and apply it in your lives. We're talking about the reversing of a terminal illness.
All right.
We're talking about the reversal of a terminal illness. This isn't no time to just be playing. Every day your lives are at stake. You watch the news, you see the event, you don't even have to turn on the TV. You can just walk out your house and you can see the apathy and atrophy at its very best.
Okay.
But because we become desensitized to it, we feel like either it's not going to hit us or if it does hit us, oh well, that's part of life. You got to die from something, right?
That's what they say.
Damn. The whole aspect of life is to live, but our whole premise centered around life is to die.
That's right.
Let me say that one more time.
That's right. That's what it is.
The whole premise of life is to live, to be fruitful, to be bountiful, to be happy, to be prosperous. But because we have accepted death, like he said, when you make that choice to accept death, your whole life is centered and geared towards that destination. So whether you're conscious or unconscious of it, you're going to do everything that facilitates death. Black History Month, under the way we've been practicing it, facilitates death. Our education, he said, not just the way we've been taught, but the way we teach, the pedagogies that we practice perpetuates death. So not only we're learning how to die, we're teaching our children, our friends, our loved ones how to assassinate and kill themselves as well.
That's right.
That's why we haven't broken the cycle. We got to not just change the way we learn, but we have to change the way we teach. You can't change the way you learn if the same thing you've been taught, the way you've been taught, perpetuates what you want to change from. That's counterproductive. The prince said, From what to what? From where to where?
All right.
But our from where is taking us right back to where we were at in the first place. We're doing this. It's like one of those steps that the Chinese brothers do. I don't know. Okay. Oh man. We've been in every aspect of life destroying and wasting away. We're up against a system that has encompassed every part and every process of life. So how do you counteract it? One of the first things we said is understanding apathy in the education. That's why through the guidance of Benami and Prince Isaiah, Master Shalid, Prince Amir, and all the great men, we learned to take education out of the equation and into dedication. What are you dedicating your children to? Hear me out. When you start to form the minds, the spirits, the hearts of the children that are growing up in your culture, in your society, in your community, what are you dedicating them to? Do you have a plan for them? Besides saying, oh, my son will be a doctor. I want to be a lawyer. What kind of doctor are they going to be? The ones that pass out legal drugs? That kill the people? The one who operates and kills the people? I'm not saying that for all the doctors, but I'm saying this is the society that we live in. The last class we talked about, I said through their publication, 90% chemo has a 97% kill rate, not of the disease, but of the person. You got a 3% chance if you take chemo that you're gonna live. I can speak from personal experience with my nephew, because his grandmother and my mother died from that. At the lowest level, she was just doing radiation. I'm not insensitive of it. I'm speaking from my own personal experience. This is real. I don't want any more mothers to die. I don't want any more children to die. Not like that. That's not what they were born to do. That's not the way they're supposed to end this world. When you come in so beautiful and so pure. Understand the power that you have within yourself. But going back to the education. In Carter G. Wood's book, Miseducation of a Negro, he had a statement in it. He says, when a Negro has finished his education, this is what the European said, has finished his education in our schools, then he has been equipped to begin the life of an Americanized, Europeanized white man. Why is that important? Because they're racist. Oh, listen to me. We're not talking about a color right now. We're talking about a mind that said their number one greatest invention was to kill and to destroy. We're talking about a system. We're talking about a mentality that perpetuates that. So through your educational system, because you've not been dedicated to life, through the process of you growing up and learning, you haven't been dedicated to life, you've been dedicated to the contrary, you come out with that same mandate. Your whole premise is how to kill and to destroy. You think it's literal. I didn't shoot nobody, I didn't stab nobody, but what did your words do? Were you, like we said earlier, were you being discouraging or encouraging? Were you being destructive or constructive?
That's right, we're here.
Listen to me. What have we been doing? That's why he said you gotta have a dedication system, not an education system. Because under the education system that we have is to be equipped to begin the life of a European. You don't have no culture. You don't have no identity. One of the greatest misconceptions that we have is that we're a society of multiculturalism. What the hell is multiculturalism, Rabbi?
I have no idea. You had no clue.
You think we all have our own cultures?
No, absolutely not.
So a culture As the way it's outlined in Torah, as outlined by the prophets, as outlined by the holy wise men, is a system of government. It's a system of dedication. It's a system of development of one's consciousness. What has this culture perpetuated?
Well,
Hear me now. Are we practicing another culture besides the culture that they've created? Do we have another system of influence besides the one that they've created? But I'm saying, in the framework of what we in. And I get a lot of flack from my brother preachers and ministers and even Hebrews that said, you cannot really identify from the purest Torah sense, like the Nasi outlined, in a system that's totally contrary to that. You can't practice it. How can you? You say you love life, you a vegan, but everything else you do is destroy the world. You don't have no control over the water you drink,
right.
over the food you grow.
Right.
At any time, they have the ability to eliminate you. You don't have control of your own life, basically what I'm saying. Well, I can get water whenever time I want to. Ask Flint that. See if it's not possible. Let's hit a switch like that, and their drinking water is full of lead and causing devastating effects forever. And who has been truly held accountable for that? For generations of babies that's going to be destroyed. And it's not just Flint, it's all over the country. Hell, it's in Chicago. Don't get me wrong. It hasn't reached a mass level. They haven't really publicized it like that because of their own agenda. But we so damn, we've been desensitized, we don't know if we're sick or not. You don't even know you're sick. What you call I'm okay. It's like, it's allergies. What are you allergic to? You're allergic to this system that perpetuates death. That's not natural. You have a running nose all damn day, coughing and wheezing all day. No. I'm saying, I know we all know this, but do we know this? Because I would think that we're intelligent enough, if we know something, we want to do something to solve the problem. Right? That's what intelligent people do. So either we have to admit we do not really know, or we're consciously and willingly destroying our own selves. Then there's no need for me. No need for Brent. Not for you at least. The other people who want to say. Not even none of us who say we want to be perpetuators of change. Hear me out. This instrument, like we talked about, desensitization. This instrument of how miseducation has been an instrument of exploitation has been since the very beginning. When the Portuguese first landed in Congo, Congo's been catching hell since about 1481 when the Portuguese landed there.
That's right.
The first instrument they used was this idea or concept of God. I have to enter that. The concept of God goes hand in hand with education and dedication. Because we use God as the measuring rod, as the stick of holiness, of righteousness, of one's character in every aspect that we do. But the problem is that our identity, a God that I'm going to use the word God for context, but I'm going to enter the equation what concepts we have to share going forward, because these ideas and these words, whether we think they're innocent, they have power. They possess an identity. They possess an energy.
Right.
That's why language is so imperative. And the spirit behind the language. So in certain words that we speak, we speak English, but sometimes it's just some Hebrew words we just gotta say. Whether you understand it or not, we just have to translate it for you, but we have to use this versus context or not, because we understand the power that it has behind it. So going back to the Congolese, the Portuguese taught them, through the information that we gave them, that their God, or their concept of what we call God, was false, was not real, was not valid. They're not empowered, but yet destroyed. So use our concept of God. And that's why the whole world connects that higher energy to the Word of God now. But you think about it, really think about it. Think about all the death and devastation that's been done in the name of God.
That's right.
Hear me out now.
That's true.
Think about all the death and devastation that has been done in the name of God. So at some point, as we create and reconstruct a new world, a new identity, a new lifestyle, we have to change our vernacular. We can't use these terms, but because connected to it is a negative connotation, which automatically brings that energy in. Christians, forgive me. Forgive me. I'm going to go say it now. But the word Jesus, I'm sorry. The character, but the word, we got at some point break away from this. Why do I say that? What is Jesus in Spanish? Who is Jesus?
The Zeus.
The Zeus. You think that's a coincidence? They want you to give honor to their God. It's this misconception that we all have the same God. I don't want the same God as them murderers and killers. I don't know about you, but I don't want that God. That God has done nothing but destroy the planet. I don't want that. I want the God that empowers us, that gives us the ability to free and sustain ourselves. They talk about the evils of voodoo or voodoo down in Haiti, but when they kicked out their God and called on their spiritual African rituals, they was able to kick the Spanish, the French, the Americans behind. Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh was a student of the Honorable Marcus Garvey.
That's right.
He connected to that reality. That gave him the power to go back to Vietnam and to defeat two of the world powers at that time, France and America. So not only do you have that power, but you have that power to give to other people. You got to understand why we keep calling on God and nothing's happening. Why we keep going to church, why we keep going to temple, why we keep going to mosque, and nothing's happening. Like the Nasi said earlier, one of the misconceptions is that first, we keep looking for something exterior to come and change and save our predicament. God can do nothing for you, will do nothing for you, Yah will do nothing for you unless you do it first. He has to work through you, not for you. Let me say that again. He has to work through you, not for you.
Right.
Gotta hear me. Because this reverses our apathy. To know we have the power of the living creator within us. So you look at things with a whole other perspective. You don't go with the I can't, I won't, I shouldn't attitude. You go with the I will, I can, I did attitude. So there's no more impediments going forward. When you see your brother, you see your sister, you seek Yah. And you know that you have to have a level of reverence and respect and admiration for that person. And then harmoniously, you can work together to produce whatever outcome that you want to create. First, we have to share the ideas that we all have the same God and we all should have the same God. So now when you enter Yah into the equation, now you can give a dedication system which perpetuates Yah, which is the aspects of life, perpetuating life, preserving life, and proliferating life. So when we say Yah, we say what? Your God. Rough translation is Yah lives in us. He always, the prince, always speaks about Oscar Goldberg, and he said they're remarkable. He said Oscar Goldberg, which was a European,
Outstanding example.
who was a German scholar, da da da. I know we need him to validate, but it sometimes it's good to have the other side tell you your reality. When they've been calling you dirt monkey, porch monkey for so long, every once in a while, not that you need it, but you know, it helps.
Yeah.
Because at least you can go and say, well, the one who I'm teaching you said this. So that doesn't have validation since you don't trust what I say. Not to get off subject. Now the sister asked me a question and I answered it. And her rebuttal was, how do you know? I said, damn, do you ask a doctor who misdiagnosed 56% of the time, how does he know? Do you ask the lawyer who loses almost all your cases, especially if you got a public defender, how does he know? Do you ask your teacher in the European system that's been miseducating you your whole entire life, how do they know? See the mind that we have, how we've been desensitized, how we've been reprogrammed to have no faith in one another because we have no faith in ourselves. Sister, I know that's like the eagle was born to fly and the fish was born to swim. It's because that's what I was made to do. I was born for this. Just like you would be if you understand and accept the power that you have that lives and dwells within you. So I'm saying that's the attitude that we have to have. So as we create a reality, a new dedication system, it can't just be an African-centered education system that teaches about Africa. That won't work. It has to teach us and instill in us how to apply the knowledge that made those civilizations great. We don't want to learn about how they built pyramids 3,500 years ago. We want to learn how to build our own pyramids.
Right now.
At this very moment. That's the mentality that we must have as we instruct our youth, as we instruct the elders. They need to be taught too. We all need to be retaught. We want to know how were those great civilizations, the Dogons, able to study the skies and the stars and the celestial systems at such a remarkable rate that they can predict events going 10,000, 20,000 years ahead. We don't want to know that they did that. We want to know how to do it now. So the new instructor must immerse himself in that knowledge, in that reality. Knowledge without works is vain. And vanity is one of the greatest sins. Not because somebody else said it, because it has no benefit to life. You saying you can do something or know something don't benefit nobody. Unless you put it in an environment that we all can be not just receivers of it, but perpetuators of it. Toward the right. Culture. So we talk about the illusion of multiculturalism. Well, you said, we got a culture. Hip-hop. Hip-hop is our culture. You make a distinction. Hip-hop is not a culture. It's an experience that we had in our sojourn over here that we've turned into practice by glorifying it. Hold on, let me say it. Think about it. I'm throwing it out there, but I want you to process this as I'm recording. Hip-hop is not a culture. I know we respect the culture, we do it for the culture. I know everybody's saying that. It's not a culture, it's an experience. It's someone's stories that they have put into practice by glorifying. So when the brothers were coming up in the late 80s, early 90s, they were talking about their environments, they were talking about their neighborhoods, they were rampant with drugs, alcohol, whatever. The society took that as a weapon because they weaponized everything. They took one's experience and weaponized it and gave it to a generation who will never know it. That's right. Dispersed it all around the country first and then around the world. So that they could not just glorify it, but start to practice it. So that's why you got generations now aimlessly killing each other. Because it's been put into their subconscious, their psyche. It's a disease. It's a pathology. I talked about before a symptom called somatogenic mind control, which the very cells in your body have been conditioned to practice and perpetuate ill will. It's a real word, you can look it up. Somatogenic. Or you can look up somo cells. That's what it is, the somo cells. Cells that are being created in the body every day with the mentality of the lack of empathy, sympathy, love, compassion. So that's why you can have children who haven't grown up with their parents but still have the devastating effects of their ways. Because genetically, it gets passed on. Hear me out now. So we gotta create a culture. Because the culture is the barometer of how a people interact not just with themselves but with other nations. So the reason you don't have any respect, the reason when you can't unify, because you don't have a common culture that you can perpetuate. The identity, a government to institute that gives you the protection of outside forces. Why is China able to set up Chinatowns in countries or Greek towns or so forth and so on? Because they have a protective force outside of here that will endorse anything that goes wrong. Will have retaliation of anything that goes wrong. You gotta hear this. They're protected by a government, by a culture.
That's right.
We gotta get the real root of the word, what culture really means. Your culture is your protection. It is your defense mechanism against the evils of the world. So you say you have the two choices, the ability to do evil and to do wickedness. Your culture is the barrier, is the armament of yoke that allows that thing not to penetrate. So the only thing that permeates in your body is truth, love, life, peace, and prosperity. Our apathy has caused our atrophy. We gotta reverse it. Prince Amiel, I want to read something real quick. You have me to put this inside that case. Intellectual warfare. Because, like Sun Tzu taught me, right, we are at the highest level. And because the reason why we're losing this intellectual battle is because we've lost our minds. Damn, you're going hard tonight. We have lost our minds. I want to read something real quick. Listen to this. So it says, many whites, like Benjamin Franklin and the Quakers, knew that this, and that's why Negro education finally received the endorsement of the establishment and the Southern white supremacists after the Civil War. One of the two things that they kept on was the ability to pray and the ability to learn for a long time in this country. But they made a conscious decision because they grow and develop their culture, their world, every day. So they said, okay, we're not going to be able to not allow them to educate themselves. Or their energy or their spirit, their Yah within them is going to bubble up at some point, and they're going to remember through their blood their power, their history, their knowledge. How do we suppress that? Let us be the system that educates them. Let us be the system that teaches them. Therefore, we keep them in a consistent and perpetual hypnosis. Say it again. Consistent and perpetual hypnosis. Damn, I didn't call it school system. Hypnosis. But that's what it does. Every time you get a degree, every time you get some type of accolade, you get deeper and deeper in it. Because it gives you the validation that you've always wanted. Especially us as people, we're the only people that wants to be validated by everybody else besides ourselves.
That's right. That's right.
So we want your academia certificates. We want your positions of high esteem, or so-called high esteem. We want all the monetary money that we can so-called get because it gives us a validation that we so desperately seek. The decision to put the black masses into a modified chattel slave system after the war was coupled with a consensus on the need for sending blacks to school, at least some at a time. Small demographic that you can control because it's a spirit. But also, you create disdain between those who are educating and those who you are not. So you give them the illusion that they have inclusion. So they come with the spirit that I'm better than you, nigga. Excuse my vernacular, but that's the way, nigga, and that's what we do now. You can have some Jordans on, somebody can have some K-Swiss shoes on. I'm better than you, nigga. See the mentality? You've been desensitized at the highest levels. Hear me out. So now you see the split. At the time, the president of the white university said at Mohawk conference on the Negro question in 1890, I believe if the Negroes are not educated, then they will become a dangerous element to the community, liable to be thrown at any moment into the hands of demigods who may use them for bad purposes. Stop right there. Hear that out. Let's educate them so when Prince Asiel, when Ben Ami, when Rabbi, Prince Amiel, all those men start to teach you who you really are, in them, you're automatically going to reject it. Because you've been prepared for that moment. I'm going to read something that J. Edgar Hoover wrote. Here's the real reason on why we no longer have national black leaders like Malcolm and Martin anymore. It's by white design. There will never be another black Messiah unless we create him.
That's right.
And so, as you see, you create the element of what's going on in Chicago, where the violence and all this, which is a created system. Don't get me wrong, our children are going rampant, our people are going rampant, but it's not as it seems. A lot of this stuff is constructed. Next time we come, we'll show you some tapes of real police officers in regular clothes going and doing drive-by shootings. They catch their own self. Because there's cameras on every dang old corner. ATMs, surveillances. So you telling us we don't know what's going on? Who's killing the babies? Who's killing these people? It's by design. So you create the condition, and then you insert a false savior, a false prophet, a false leader to Nakash to guide them into darkness. You can't win in this system. There's too many moving parts. You cannot be prosperous. You cannot have a cultural identity in a system that has that many moving parts, especially as an individual. So what we enter to the equation, first, communal living. How do you combat a system that so-called has everything? You huddle together, communal living, and start to deal amongst self. Build amongst self. You got 5 people with 2 cars, that go a long way. Instead of 5 people separate places and 2 of those people have cars. And most of the time, 2 of y'all, 3 of y'all, all y'all going to the same damn place anyway. You know what I'm saying? Think about how easy our lives would be. And I'm saying that's not the total solution, but from that gives you an easier state of mind, less stress, less emotional unrest that allows you to process and think and protect yourself in other manners and also be creative. Because that was the #1 thing that's been taken from us, our creativity. So everything that we do is just replication. We're wrapping up soon, as I said 7, so I'm gonna ask. But I gotta hit this point. I gotta hit these points. We have to recover our resolve. We have to recover our ability to be creative again. And that can only be done in an environment that allows that to prosper, allows that to grow. But obviously, this isn't the environment. It's the reason that all of us came here today, outside of the reason that somebody asked us to. That spirit within you. Because a lot of people see the fly, a lot of people was told, a lot of people, but everybody has their time. But the spirit within us brought us together so that we can get this information and more importantly, apply it. ourselves back. Did the European not come over here with nothing but the clothes on his back and start a new world? Think about what we can do with the knowledge of self, with the information that we have, with a communal aspect of the communal living. Think of the power that you possess. That's your. That's the living creator. Sorry, I get a little passionate every once in a while.
We don't want you to be apathetic.
Please, oh no. Yes.
Don't be passionate.
So, our apathy is caused by atrophy. Our energy, the little energy that we do have, has been put in things that are counterproductive to our very nature and our very ability to survive and also ultimately thrive. So I talk about economics. It's an energy more than it is just a piece of currency. But you can tell where someone's energy is being put into, how he's being controlled by how he or she spends their money. Still spending hundreds of millions of dollars every Christmas. We still spend $600 million on McDonald's.
Wow.
And we know it kills us. We still spend $2 billion on Air Jordans. And we know he endorses the prison systems. We still spend $4 billion on liquor and alcoholic beverages a year. And we know what it does to the liver, to our psyche, our conscience, our energy, our attitude, our families. Think about this. Think about this. We still spend $4 billion. We don't know why we started drinking liquor.
We don't know why.
Most of us, we do everything like it.
Basically, yeah.
But do you know, I'm saying we have wine throughout scripture. I'm not talking about that. I'm scared to do any of it. I don't know how to react. My slave might come back out of me, so I can just say all that. I'm not disciplined. I'm not disciplined enough, so I try anything that I'm scared I might do, I just stay away from altogether. Because I don't have no, what they say, no chill, right? I have no chill. So I'm not going to put myself in a position. But I'm saying the overconsumption of alcohol was an instrument, because like I said, they used everything as a weapon that they did during the times of slavery to keep us inebriated. They wouldn't give us no food, no nothing, but they would over-drunken the slaves so they would never have the ability to process what they were, where they were, what they were doing, and how to escape. So during Christmas, while we still do it during Christmas, or those holidays, they give the slaves day off, and they just give them nothing but liquor and liquor. Have contest who gets the drunkest, who knocks the first person out, who falls out first. Are we not doing the same thing today?
Absolutely.
So I'm saying, let's look at this in a whole nother light. That $4 billion, that energy that we put into that comes from something. That comes from a system. That comes from a mind that allowed that reality to continue to be perpetuated. And because like we talked about that Somo cell, it gets passed on to each generation. How else would you even have an inkling or a desire to even drink alcohol if you know nothing about it? But besides that, it's already in you, ready to be brought up. We also spend, I'm sorry my sisters, $9 billion in hair weave and hair products. And don't get me wrong, hair designs, that was an African construct. But the problem is that now it has turned in from something, not just a form of expression, but a form of rejection of oneself. I'm gonna say that again. It not become a form of expression, but a form of rejection of oneself. Because what has been portrayed is the ideal beauty is something that is opposite of us. Just like the test they used to do with the dowels and these dads and the black kid. Which one is more beautiful, the black down or the white down? And what do we say every time? We pick the white down. It's not a color thing, it's a conceptual thing. That anything that looks like you, smells like you, tastes like you, moves like you is wrong. So if we come up here with solutions, see, this is all systematic. So now when we come up, like I said, education, we fear these demigods that will try to lead them away from their control. So it ain't just about you as an individual, it's so that you will reject the true and real Messiah and accept the false one. Damn. That's systemic. I'm going, you said something was on my heart, so I got to put it out there. I'm not going to be able to finish off, so we're going to have a part 2 next week. But we'll get to that. So it gives us a false sense of belonging. Because when we take on these superficial exterior measures, we feel like, we talked about earlier, we've been included in some type of society that we were never, or it was never created to have us in. That's why I teach, for those who listen, only a few people, that the Constitution is more dangerous than the Willie Lynch letter. Where you going with that? You said the Constitution, they'll protect us. Let's say this again. The U.S. Constitution, there's a lot of my brothers revolutionaries, they talk about the Constitution, they're showing our constitutional rights. They're taking away our constitutional rights. You never had them. Stop telling the people that. The Constitution was not there to protect them. That's why Justice Kennedy said it more clearly than any other white supremacists in the history of America. There's not one rule, law, right that a black man has that a white man is bound to respect or honor.
Right, Dre Scott.
Not just a white person, but the system. There's nothing that you have in this system that they're bound to respect. Nothing in the system that they're bound to respect. That's why they can kill you aimlessly in the streets and there be no course of redress. That's why 5,000 black men can go missing every month. No, not dead, not incarcerated, but missing every month, and nobody cares. Nobody does nothing. There's no interrogation been put into it. But we can spend countless hours and hours talking about Donald Trump being peed on in Russia. You hear what I'm saying? You don't have no hope in this system. I'm not trying to scare nobody. I'm not trying to discourage nobody. I'm trying to empower you by saying you have the answer within yourself. Understanding Torah. Not just no words, but the living manifestation of it, which is you and I. Hear me. I'm pouring my heart out because this is what I was meant to do, but you're here because this is what you were meant to do. So when we believe in these documents, like the U.S. Constitution, we're practicing a form of genocidal trust. Say it again.
Okay.
I didn't create the words, but I put them together to sound kind of good. We created a form of genocidal trust. I seen a movie last night called Get Out. And I seldom go to But this movie was so profound. Get Out. And it comes off as one of those goofies. But if you look at the underlying message, it was so profound. I want to tell it, but I don't want to be, a spoiler for anybody. But it talks about, once you see it, you're going to understand genocidal trust comes into the equation. We trust everything but ourselves. And so therefore, we keep practicing genocide. We're willing to participate in our own genocide. And so even when we create in this construct African institutions, they're actually anti-African institutions. Because you're teaching the people to think or to you teach them about black, but you're still thinking them to be white.
That's right.
I had to get it right first. I wanted to come out good. I'll tell you in a moment. But listen, you teach them about black, but you're teaching them how to still perpetuate their whiteness. Because you're telling them that the only way you can grow and matriculate to the highest levels is through the system that is currently here. But the only people that think like that are slaves. That's the only people who think like that. How you gonna tell me something that is destroying my very being is my only way of salvation? That's the equivalent. No, be honest. The equivalent is saying just drink that poison, but if you drink the whole bottle, miraculously it's gonna help you. No, you're not even gonna make it to halfway through the bottle. You're gonna be dead. And that's what we're doing as we continue to try to matriculate through the society. We're going deeper and deeper into the hole. I'm gonna wrap up because we're still on time. Definitely. I just want to say one thing, and we're gonna do a part 2, like I said. But they have something because we got to get to the solutions, and that's why I want y'all to come back. Maybe it happen so y'all can come back and we can really go over solutions. but Karl Rover, who was under the Bush administration, had a term that he said publicly to the Associated Press that we live by something called, hear me out, discernible reality. Matter of fact, I have that book. It's another book in that print. If you can get it from me. Yes, sir. This is Henry Kissinger. If you're not familiar with this guy, please study him. Because the modern system that we're in, he was one of the architects of that. And why we catching all that hell that we are today. So I don't just study our leaders and our teachers, I study theirs too, to see what's going on with them. But in this document, it says, discernible reality. He said, was not the world worked anymore, Grove said, when we're talking about discernible reality. We're an empire now, and we act and we create our own reality. That's what he does. That's why he stays on top. That's the differentiation between what they're doing and what we're doing.
That's right.
We're participating in somebody's reality while they continue to create their own.
Right.
So the rules continuously change. So that's why I say the Constitution is one of the greatest impediments of our reality, because it doesn't even mean anything no more. It's not worth the paper it was written on. Because their rules continuously change. And while we're studying that reality judiciously, as you will, we act again, creating other new realities, which you can study too. Hold on. What the kind of arrogance is that?
That's right.
So while you're studying that, we create some whole new. We can let you study that too, but while you on that, once you finally get to that, we on something totally different.
That's right.
You can't operate in that reality. The only option is to create our own. The only option. So when you look at why Trump was elected, it's because of that reason. Discernible reality. That's why the people of this country, the Europeans of this country, they'll do whatever it takes to uphold white privilege, even when it hurts their own self-interest. So the normal white person, they're not going to benefit from Trump being in power, but the idea of losing that privilege is so devastating. They'll cut their own head off.
They'll kill everybody.
Kill everybody.
Before we let you have it.
Before you let you have it.
Right.
I can't have it no black.
And it wasn't that Miss Hillary was going to do anything different, but the idea that things were changing was devastating enough. We have that change. We have that power. With that said, you could have been in any other place in the world, but you decided to be here. That's something that we do not take lightly or for granted. You gave us your ears and your hearts, and we receive it with perfect love. So I thank you. So as I came, I want to leave you in the words of peace. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom. coming? What up and coming events? Up and coming events. March. I'm going all the way to March, right? What? Wait a minute. This is February, Black History Month. It's shortest month that you did a year. Wait a minute. It's already March, ain't it?
Yes, all right.
Yeah, 4 more days. What am I talking about?
That's how it is.
Listen. So, the second and fourth Saturday, there will be services, and then there will be a spiritual drumming session. We call it the Psalm session. For drummers, bass players, and folks with positive spoken word. It's going to be in 9352 Halstead. The flyers will be out soon. That's going to be every second and fourth Saturday. Close out for the Shabbat so that you can feel good about spending time with the Creator before you go back to work. Because if y'all work like me, y'all work with a bunch of heathens. Next thing next week, we got a second part to this class, 5 to 7.
5537 South Michigan.
See that tag team?
5537 South Michigan.
That's right.
The Islamic Center is right there on the corner. You can't miss it.
That's right.
And we'll be parking too. For me, I'm on the blue list. I need parking. So. I digress.
See that we got to deal with a bunch of heathens all the time.
We got a parking lot over there.
Also, now I want everybody to look at the person next to you and say, "Thanks for coming."
Thanks for coming.
You have a beautiful spirit.
Beautiful spirit.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. May Yah bless our coming and go. But most of all, may He put His arms around us, guide us home, so we can be with our families and loved ones in peace. May He continue to wake us up, both our minds and our body, so that we can continue to be a benefit to mankind and a blessing to Yah. Nilel Yah.
Hallelujah.
Nilel Yah.
Hallelujah.
Nilel Yah.
Hallelujah.
Oh, Yah God.
That's what we're doing. I hope, because it started changing, so we probably going about 10:45.
How long you been?
My bread, maybe about 1.
Who told you that?
Maybe I have to say. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
I got Negro hair.
One of the brothers in there, I got a guy that gave my girl for me. Where? I'm motorful. Oh, yeah.
My grandpa was
He made that too. He got the website and stuff. Yeah, he do. I don't have the car. I can use number. I can use number. Yeah. And he just told me.
I might make it out there in the morning too.
Take a whole gun. 312. 619. 619. 2967. Call me. I might stop over there right now.
That's where it is.
Oh.
Do you work on all night? And you stay like downtown? Is it, you want it? She got one home in the
I do understand.
Yeah, no.
Trying to get safe up there too. Any day it feel decent outside, they be up there. Just call me. I mean, wait, just trying to get safe up there.
Are you going? Oh yeah. I'm sleeping like this.
What is he? You cannot curl it like that. That's excuse me. We argued, but I told them that you was Korean. I thought you was Korean black.
No, right.
When you look at it,
No, right, I told them. They dropped
you didn't say no. You didn't say you got been too, but you said she's Korean. Chinese. Now you been too. You been too, so you didn't get it right either.
I was waiting for her that you made, though. But I was waiting for her. What you did, you said she was going to, you said tell me where you were. But she's cute anyway. So.
Thank you so much.